Hello, people. My name is Emmanuel, and welcome to Techpoint Africa Podcast. It's been quite a while since I've sat on this chair, but yeah, I hope you've had fun. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope you've been staying safe and doing a lot of things to secure the bag, as it were. So yeah, Bolu and Ogheneruemu are with me here today. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, even though you don't have any choice. But it's good to know that you're here for us.
Is that connected appearance fee? What do you put in?
Appearance fee. This is not football manager. So, but yeah, I think this week I saw something very interesting. How it was a video, like an ad that showed what banking used to be before this whole switch thing happened. So normally, right now, you can just pick up your phone and send money to someone anywhere you are, but it didn't used to be that way. I remember those days I used to follow my dad to Unity Bank. We're staying in a rural area in Delta State. So Unity Bank is that bank that does not make noise but serves those frontier. Then First Bank also tries to. So you carry passbook and stay inside the bank for hours trying to send money. And you can only send money in the bank branch that you opened.
Whoa.
Even if it's the same bank. So if you open Unity Bank in Benin City, you can't go to Unity Bank then in Delta State. So yeah, there was a bunch of issues and crises and all of that. But I think Nigeria's banking space has evolved so far so good. More than we give it credit for.
True, actually.
You agree? Did you experience any of this that I'm talking about?
No, I did not experience it, but I think recently the US government is trying to, because in the US they can't send money, like banks can't send money as quickly as we can. And then I think that was in July, they started processing, so that their banks can send money as fast as we can. So, from there, I already kind of knew, but then when I saw it that in 2023, US just wants to do this, and we've already been doing this for a long time, then I knew that, okay, our banking system, we don't give it enough credit. Yeah,
it's fair. But what I'm even thinking, okay, people that were hired in the banks at that time, are they still dirty now? Like, do they, as their job changed, have they been laid off?
That's
because
a very
with
good question.
Technology, with NIBs, all of those manual stuff that they needed to be doing,
That's
to do it again. So yeah,
I guess some people definitely lose their
some
jobs.
people will stay. Those that can relearn, those that can evolve, those that cannot, that will enjoy paper.
Okay.
Go back to the classroom. Or something.
Nice one. So I guess you guys get where I'm going with this, right? Modern Workplace Africa Conference. So yeah, things are changing in the job space, and we just talked about the banking sector in the early to late 90s. What am I even talking about? Like, since banks have been in Nigeria, right? So we just talked about it in the 90s and how things have changed and how most likely a lot of people have lost their jobs in the banking sector. But in that layoff or losing of jobs, new roles have emerged, new jobs have been created, because that's what technology is all about. So yeah, that and more is what we'll be exploring at the Modern Workplace Africa Conference. And you're going to be talking about the future of work and how a lot of technology is disrupting everything. So, but tomorrow we're going to be having an HR mixer. So it's for people in the talent, people management space to come and talk, relax, take bites and drinks and all of that. And also talk to a therapist. Nifemi has actually secured a therapist for you guys for some reason. But
like you go.
Olu, do you need therapy?
I mean, therapy. You don't know until you meet one.
You don't know until you meet one. But I know Ogheneruemu definitely needs one. Like, there's so many things that he's fighting and battling.
Really, actually, I am. There's so many things.
You need therapy. I'm surprised you admitted. Nice one. Okay, so guys, don't forget.
Actually, just go and laugh at the therapist.
That's why you need therapy. Because why do you want to go and laugh at the therapist?
Because I don't know if that thing works. I mean, they're just collecting money.
Have you tried therapy before?
I tried it. I walked out because the woman was telling me rubbish. Someone was telling me that I need to cry more in my life. I'm like, what the hell is this?
What the heck is that? Okay, no problem. So yeah, we are going to be leaving the link in the description for you to find out more about what's going on and what's going. But yeah, in the tech space today, we're going to be addressing a number of stories that should keep you hooked. We have a major So we don't know if it's a major, but at least it's a major one. Major stories around an acquisition in the startup space. Then Kenyan logistics company is having very, very serious issues. Then the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the Nigerian Exchange Limited, is looking for ways for companies to exit, Nigerian startups exit in the Nigerian market. So that's an important conversation. And so stay tuned to the end to find out more about that. So let's start with Risevest and Chaka. So we heard that Risevest has acquired Chaka, or Chaka is now a part of Risevest. Mm-hmm. So what's the main gist there? What are the facts that we need to know about it?
Okay. Main gist is Risevest has acquired Chaka. Figures are undisclosed as usual. But interestingly, they are not. So typically, these acquisitions, the acquirer absorbs the acquired. But in this case, they will remain separate entities. That's very interesting to me. But I think we get to that point later. So yeah, that's it. What other interesting detail? Yeah, I think those are like the major.
Those are the major facts about the acquisition. Nothing else, no more detail.
Well, we will discuss the other details, but these are like the highlights. They've been acquired. They'll be working as separate entities. So the Chaka CEO will continue running Chaka as a separate entity, although they will still be under the like larger Risevest or Rise portfolio, but it would be a separate entity. So that I'm assuming that means their staff they won't have to maybe
they will not sue each
other and all of that. So yeah, that's like the highlight of it. So
okay,
let's go ahead.
So yeah, let's actually dive deep into why they are not absorbing Risevest.
Yeah.
So Chaka rather. Why is Risevest not absorbing? So in my mind, I think there are two distinct products. Risevest in a way operates very differently from Chaka. Chaka is very granular. You're buying stocks both in the Nigerian market and the foreign market. I think even at some point they had Chinese stocks. I don't know if they still do, but you could buy stocks in China, US, and Nigeria. And it was very interesting. So, but Risevest does not. Risevest abstracts all of those things. Yeah. You just put your money and it gives you interest at the end of the year most of the time. So you can invest in real estate, you can invest in stocks, but you don't see the actual stocks that you are buying, right? So, could that be a reason why they're doing this, or is there something else under the hood?
Okay, so somehow I think that this was a strategic acquisition to buy out a competitor and basically eliminate competition. So we have a few companies in that space. There are not too many. So we have Bamboo that works similarly to Chaka. Then we have Risevest that has an entirely different model, if I would say so. They don't. You can just give them your money. They tell you like the returns you should expect, and you go to sleep. So it's different compared to Chaka, where I have to like pick the stocks myself and then make the trade. So you probably don't want to go get Bamboo because maybe Bamboo is a lot more expensive to acquire. But you can get Chaka, and you eliminate competition and also strengthen yourself. So I noticed that I think Risevest is working on a different product, asset base, where you can basically buy any asset, startups, real estate, vehicles, art, anything at all you want to buy. You can do that. It hasn't launched. There's still it's just the wait list that is available now. But I'm just looking at it as them buying off the competition and just, you know what, do your thing, and then while we remain here, you won't be a threat to us. So basically, they now get now the thing is we also don't know how large our market is. Risevest has be about 250,000 to 300,000 users. Chaka has about 100,000. I think Bamboo has about 300,000 users. So just that acquisition brings you up to the Bamboo level, and then you're like a dominant force in that market. There are still a few other players. I think there's iInvest, there's AfriInvest, there's Trove. There are a few other smaller startups. So I'm looking at it as them buying out competition, really. And that could be why they are okay. And the video, I was watching the video that Risevest released, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday. And they said they have a shared vision for the sector or for this space. So it's you're just consolidating on what you have. So that's my take on why they decided to allow them remain distinct brands.
Okay, so but let me shade you small. This is what we call real assets. Not what people are buying in the crypto space, like tangible. The things you are buying, they are backed by tangible stuff that you can hold with your hand.
There are also many things you can buy in the crypto space.
Crypto can't relate.
That are tangible.
Like,
Okay,
like what?
mostly are not tangible. They are not really backed by
Anything.
But
Like
there are some.
99% of them are not backed by anything.
You can say that. But there are some.
So
There
what
are
are you
some.
now doing?
Don't worry.
So don't worry. I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
But I have one like.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you look at the numbers, I don't know what either companies are doing in terms of revenue or profit, right? But then if you look at their, 100,000 is a significant number, sure, because if we say Risevest has about 200,000 users and Chaka has about 100,000, is that difference like huge enough for Risevest to be able to acquire Chaka?
Yeah, it's probably part of the numbers behind the scenes that we don't know about, which is what I'm about to address, which is why is it that so far so good. I think from last year to now we've had over 41 M&A announcements, and only 2 or 3 have actually disclosed an amount. The only one that I remember vividly is InstaDeep.
Yes.
Tunisian startup.
Yeah, there was a Crowdforce, I think.
Yeah. No Nigerian has disclosed. What are they hiding?
Okay, let me say something that Asemota said recently. He said Nigerians are secretive when it matters. So if you think we're loud people, you are secretive when it matters. So he was using Chapa as an example. But what are they hiding? There are a lot of reasons why a startup can decide not to disclose those numbers. There's I don't want you looking into my business. So there are people who raise money, they don't disclose it. And one of the reasons is they don't want to give a sense of their operations to both competitors and regulators that may start billing them. So that could also be one of the reasons why this is not disclosed. There are also a few other theories, like some that were propounded by Ngozi Dozie, Carbon CEO. And he said one is you could have either overpaid and you don't know if you've overpaid because you don't know if you got a fair value for the company you bought and you don't want us to laugh at you. Or you underpaid and the person who was bought at a lower price doesn't want to look stupid, like you had a huge asset and you let it go. Or it was a terrible deal for at least one party, usually the person being acquired, and they do not want to look stupid. Those are some of the reasons he gave. Well, another reason that I have seen is, and so I spoke to Nneka Eze, she's the managing director at Vested World, and she said one of the reasons could also be that they don't want to give out they don't want to give out the competitive advantage. So, for example, I can have a sense, maybe not 100% of how much you're worth by some of the numbers you put out. And if I do an acquisition number, if I say, okay, for example, I bought a company for $20 million, the normal assumption would be that at the very least, your company is valued at more than $30 million at the very least for you to shell out that money. So if I do a little back of paper math, I can get to estimate how much you're worth, and you could do anything you want with that information. You could also, maybe some of your plans, you could give away some of your plans by that. So some acquisitions really are just, you're just acquiring them to save them. It's not because they're that important to you. You're acquiring them to, if you just be, okay, one investor here doesn't want his investment to go to waste, and then he says, okay, can you guys do this thing? And then they do that.
So
Say you talk to a partner at Vested World, right?
Yeah.
So can we hear what she has to say on the issue? Let's hear from Moses' mouth.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you find the information you need to make decisions as both founders and investors, obviously it would be easier if the information was publicly available, but I don't think it will hold us back from doing our job. And what that means is that most investors, within the investor community, if you will, are willing to share at least a sense of multiples or potentially valuation at exit, that type of thing with other investors when you're looking into a company in the same space. So you just have to be a little bit use your network to find out some of this information, and then similarly look at other markets, but it's the same thing.
All right, so I think thank you for that insightful comment, but again, I'm still not convinced, because I mean, in the Western world, you see, so for me, fundraisings are announced, but exits are not announced. For me, I think it should be the other way around. I don't care how much you've raised.
I think I agree with you said Doze said something, right? And I agree with the last thing he said. It's especially looking at it from a Nigerian's perspective, I think it is because that acquisition was not good for at least one party.
Well, but that can be.
I think that would probably be the case mostly.
That would be the case.
That can be the case. So what's interesting for this particular acquisition? What's interesting for me is I was looking at the numbers they have raised since they were founded. So most of Risevest, like their raises have always been undisclosed, and you don't know the exact number. I think they were in Techstars, but we don't know. We know Techstars gives around, I think, 150,000, but we don't know exactly how much they've raised cumulatively. But for Chaka has raised over $1.2 million. So, except it was a terrible deal, I think it's safe to say that they raised, like last time they raised was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I think it's fair to say that at the very least, the deal, if it was a good one, it could be up to maybe 5 to 10 M. No, definitely more than that if you ask me. I think it should be more than that.
Okay, no problem. So, let me rest on this matter.
So you can fix that.
Let me rest. Let me rest. Because I'm seeing you guys are not convincing me. But let's move to another startup. A very, very important startup called 54 Gene. And when they launched, we thought, what these guys are doing was revolutionary. The African genome. So the idea behind 54 Gene was when medical innovations are happening, when drugs are being created, very, very, very little of the African gene was being taken into consideration when building all these innovations in medicine and pharmaceuticals. So the whole gene sequencing narrative was like a big deal for me, right? But it's sad to hear what's going on at 54 Gene. So Bolu, what's the latest update with?
All right. So is it an update? Well, the update is that we might be seeing the end of 54 Gene. And like you said, it's quite sad because it's one of the startups. It's one of the startups in Africa that are trying to change that narrative when it comes to genome, globally. And there's been a lot of controversial things surrounding these shots now.
So if you are not controversy,
so if you're not familiar with it, 54 Gene has been going through a lot of problems in the last few years. It was founded in 2019, but they've had like 3 CEOs within a short period of time, and this is after they've been able to raise $45 million. So these issues, kind of started when or after the founder, that's Ogheneruemu. I hope I got the pronunciation correctly.
So you're talking as if you are trying to toast me or something.
All right. So
give
the issues, the issue started after Ogheneruemu left the company, and according to Tech About, some of the reasons why he left was because they were trying to go back to investors to get more money. And this was the same year where they started their COVID testing business, and they made about $20 million, and they also raised another $20 or $25 million thereabout. And, right after that, things started happening. And then one of the sources that spoke to Tech about said, you know what, no matter how altruistic what you're doing is, once a startup fails, fights will start between different people. So basically, the company wants to shut down, right? And they're saying they're trying to get buyers. It's not really clear how successful that has been, but it's probably just going to be maybe not selling the company itself, but selling some of the things they've been able to, like some of their, should I say, their assets, like that they've acquired over time, and maybe some of the things they've gotten in terms of research, right? So that is the gist with 54G. So there's a lot of, when it comes to, I think the last time we had this discussion with Nifemi and Chimgozirim, we were talking about how what could have happened was because maybe they didn't have investors that were patient enough to get, to see the fruits of their investments. Because genomics, how many do we? I don't think besides 54 gene, we don't have any other one
that
in
we
Africa
know of.
That we know of, right?
For now.
Yes, because it's a capital intensive, really, really capital intensive business. But I think Tim was going to clarify that what was your clarification about?
I don't believe is you can lay the blame at the feet of investors, because you should have
used to give me energy,
yes,
please. Thank you. You're welcome.
So I said you can't lay the blame at the feet of investors, because if I'm starting a business, I should, ideally, I know better about it than the investor. So I know how long it will take me to get to a certain level. So, for example, if they made $20 million in 2020 or 2021, if they made $20 million, I don't know what their expenses are like, but if you come back to me as an investor and you want to raise money again, I'm probably going to wonder why you are raising more money, right? So if you made $20 million, I think, remember I said we don't know all the things that happened, but now if you made $20 million, then was the problem a failure to build on that success, or did you start spending recklessly after you had that?
I think
you had that boom and all. So maybe it was driven by COVID primarily, but that's significant money that you could reinvest into your business, and maybe it could buy you some extra time until this funding winter is over. So I said we can't lay the blame at the feet of investors.
So you're probably you're probably correct, because according to some of the findings in the article, when they started their 7 Arrow Labs,
7 River Labs.
7 River Labs, the source said they spent like an enormous amount of money. I think the word was an unreal amount of money setting it up, buying some of the best equipment. I think there was one in Kano, a couple of states, about 3 states in Nigeria, and I think combined about 100 employees, right? So I think the spending, it might have been more of a spending problem than an investor problem. Because I started doing some research, right? And then I saw that there have also been genomics startups. There are some that have raised an enormous amount of money, right? But there's also one, that have also failed. But there are also some that, they have some undisclosed, I think it's Traxon or something, I can't remember. They have undisclosed funding rounds, right? But some rounds that were disclosed were when they started, for a couple of years when they started, they didn't even raise. In their first 4 years, I don't think they raised as much as 54 Gene, right? And they've been around for a long time. I think it started in 2012, and now they've IPO'd. So it might be a spending problem. But then when we look at it from the perspective of another genomic startup that I saw, right? And this one, even before they came out of stealth, they've already raised 600 million. right?
The
So
founder go to Harvard or Stanford.
I don't know.
Now, waiting the cost of this.
So there's a lot that we can, based on how things have, how things have blown up, right? The fights and the lawsuits. I think one of the CEOs, right, one of the many CEOs that have come on board are now suing, right? So from there, that a lot of things were wrong. Somebody was not doing, a couple of people were not doing the right thing. So we can say, oh, they didn't have enough money, it's capital intensive, but I can say, with everything we can see, some people were not spending money right, treating their mates or their employees or whoever was working with them right. So,
okay, fair point. I'm not going to say much about this, but I guess I find it difficult to quantify how much an R&D intensive company should be spending, because again,
it's R&D.
It's R&D. You might not see returns for years. We are shouting ChatGPT now. ChatGPT, OpenAI, the makers of ChatGPT, was founded in 2015, and we only saw ChatGPT in December 2022. That is like their flagship product, right? That everybody's talking about now. But between 2015 and 2022, they raised about at least close to $2 billion.
And even now, I don't even think they are still profitable now.
They might not still be profitable.
So it's even about the profitability issue.
It's like before you even have but what, again, that is me playing devil's advocate for 54G. But on the flip side, before ChatGPT, OpenAI was already a big name in the world of machine learning and deep learning, because
street cred.
They had that street cred before ChatGPT, which is GPT 3.5. It shows you there was GPT 1, GPT 2, GPT 3, and then GPT 3.5. Now they're on GPT 4. People have been using those transformer models to train AI for enterprise solutions or whatever in their own respective companies before they made that ChatGPT public. But then there was a lot of demand. It was free, but unlike now, because OpenAI was a non-profit when they launched. So again, people have already been using their products before they launched ChatGPT. So there are two sides. Again, was there any service that 54G was rendering?
Exactly what we were talking about. Like
aside that COVID testing, right? Is there any API they were offering to hospitals? Was there anything, right, that could have been, at least, even if it's not a massive user base, at least it shows like, okay, this is
just a little money to maybe keep you alive, run your operations.
So when the thing about from the little I read about genomics startups, right? It's not your basic. It's not your average health tech company.
I know. It's so. For instance, the little ones they've done, was there any demand for it or in the global pharmaceutical industry, for instance?
Obviously the COVID thing did well.
Anybody could have done COVID.
that.
Everybody was doing COVID testing.
Exactly.
Everybody was doing COVID
It still comes back to what I was asking. Like, was there like enough, will I say, foresight or business? Yeah, foresight on the part of the founders to say, okay, you're operating in a difficult market. You probably are not going to make a lot of money. How can we stay alive? So you're playing a health tech. If you're in Africa, you know you will not raise as much money as someone in fintech. It's a given. You can't even wish your way out of it. So you now start thinking, how can I access money? Do I go for grants? We've seen a lot of health tech startups. They tend to go for grants because you probably will not find too many VCs who are lining up to invest in you. So for a startup that was doing something that was that important, I think they should have probably said, okay, can we do enterprise solutions? Like basically B2B. Forget all the fancy words on the website about what they wanted to do, democratize this, democratize that. What service can we offer large corporates, for example, that can make us a little amount of money that at least keeps us alive for a couple of years until we finally blow? Instead of maybe sinking all your money into something that will give you money today,
Yeah.
or you may not be able to replicate it. I mean, you don't know when the next COVID will come. So
Yeah. So
Maybe Africa is not just ready for
No.
this
yeah,
type of
yeah. So
startup.
it's let's.
maybe our founders are not just ready.
Is it
They-
founders, Africa, or even the investors and grant awarding organizations? Because if the fortune was sharing drugs to children in the streets, trust me, they would have seen.
Maybe they should have
huge-
also spawned that narrative. I mean,
no. Sharing malaria
the
drugs.
game is the game. Just
So-
play it.
I mean,
But-
say we have people that they say they are posturing. Maybe they should have postured too.
Stick with it today. But yeah, we are not
Yeah.
going to neglect the mismanagement and whatever,
Yeah, exactly,
whatever. We're not neglecting that. But yeah, so this is a startup that so far so good, has not made it to exit. One just did. They didn't disclose the amount. It's fine. I'm not beefing. But the Nigerian exchange is third or fourth largest exchange in Africa. I don't think they are first or second though. So yeah, they are talking about exit
Startups.
opportunities for startups through going public in Nigeria. Does any founder want to hear that? But what do you think? What's the ones there?
I mean, as they say, you have said it all. They want startups to be able to raise capital through a special provision. Well, so the thing is, this thing is not like, it's not like a concrete plan. It's like my plan,
I go.
my goal. Like I go. I fit. That's where it is right now. It's not like there's a so this conversation happened in the there was an event that the NGX chief was at with the Minister of Communications, Innovation, and basically Bosun Tijani and then Flutterwave CEO, and he was asked about exit opportunities, and they both mentioned that they are trying to work together to create opportunities for startups to raise capital. I mean, last year, I think it was the SEC that said talking about having both SEC and NGX talking about startups listing on the stock exchange in Nigeria. I mean, it sounds like an interesting thing to say, but do you have enough liquidity? You don't even have enough liquidity for larger companies that would typically need significant amount of money. For startups that are not going to make money for maybe the first two, not that they will make money, but they are not going to be profitable for the first couple of years of their existence. Can you provide enough liquidity to tide them through that period? So
No, those ones don't need NGX, I beg.
that's the thing. Yeah, and that's exactly who these guys want to attract. So that's why I'm not paying to. Okay, maybe I'll pay some attention to it, but I'm not holding out hope that any serious thing comes out.
So
at least,
there's an issue I'm having here, because this is not the first time they're having this conversation.
yeah.
They've been having this conversation since I joined Techpoint. So there's
What's
something
up?
called the ASEM board and the growth board on the Nigerian exchange. And that ASEM board and growth board is supposed to be meant for SMEs and high growth startups. So that already exists. Why is it not gaining traction? And again, this market is a market where a lot of, I call it the wild west, because yeah, it seems like, there's a lot of regulatory brouhaha going on, but it still feels like the entire system around our financial or capital markets feels a little bit wild, except for those in the premium board, for instance, the Access Bank, MTN, Airtel. But I've not heard much about the ASCM board and the growth board. Did they talk about it at all?
Not really. During that conversation, I think that I don't think that question was raised. This question you're asking, I don't think it was raised. So obviously it won't.
So
It
you
won't
just
be
want us to forget
fine.
about it and pretend as if nothing.
I mean, we may have to have a conversation with the NGX chief if. I mean,
I reach
probably
out to them
something-
because I wrote a whole article about it in 2020. Nigerian stock exchange want to attract technology startups and and here we are talking about how. And okay, by the way, and by the way, Flutterwave wants to help Nigerian startup list. Are they listing? Are they listing on the Nigerian exchange?
they are not. Okay, so I can't categorically say. Let me put that out there. I cannot categorically say, but the body language I saw when that question was thrown to GB did not look like something I was interested in exploring. And I cannot blame him.
I can't blame any founder.
Can't blame him. If you list on the Nigerian stock exchange, your valuation will go from 3 billion to like 1.5 just because of where you choose to list. Because people have to be, we are fighting with investors repatriating their money from the country, and you're trying to make your local investors, they really don't have the money. That's the, if you are being honest, we don't have local investors that have money. Forget all this old money conversation we usually have. We don't have enough investors that can take this risk, because you can invest in First Bank. You know, you can always put your money out maybe in the next 1 year. But you put your money in Bolupe, you're not pulling that money out for maybe 2-3 years. So we don't have people that can do that. We don't have a good number of them. I don't know, maybe some of the largest venture capital firms in Nigeria. Largest I know is I think Ventures Platform, $40 million in the last fund, $40 million. It's not like a drop of water in the ocean.
Yeah, I mean, what will Ventures Platform even show any interest? So
exactly. So
the capitalization, the regulatory environment, the business environment, everything about it, it's like it's not promising at all. It's not. So I don't know, Sha. Let me just rest this matter.
That's about the fund that the Nigerian Startup Act was supposed to establish. We've not heard we've not heard nothing about it, so we don't even know where.
That's your story now.
Yeah, it is, but we are still waiting for confirmation from the council or the secretariat.
Have they formed the council?
We've still not heard anything about that too. That's the problem.
Okay, let me leave this alone. But yes, I think it's an interesting day. It's exits on one hand, shutdown on the other hand, and administration. What does administration mean, I beg?
So before I even explain what administration means, right? Let's even tell you who is entering the administration. So it's a Kenyan-based logistics startup that has been going through a lot for some time now. And why are they going through a lot? Always comes down to the same thing. It's always money issues.
Sakpa.
Yes, Sakpa. But then the Sakpa is, they've been able to raise about $20 to $22 million, right, since they've been around. They were in Nigeria recently, but they shut down operations in Nigeria. There were layoffs, and now they are in administration. So what does that mean? So I'll put it in the simplest form possible. So when a company goes into administration, it means the company is having problems. Like you said, Sakpa is worrying them, right? They are probably spending too much. They don't have enough money. They are owing people. So when they enter administration, right, the administrator, right, someone who is an expert in financial matters, helping businesses survive, that person now comes in, right, to take over, right, and then to help them survive. So once a company is in administration, you cannot, if they are owing you money, you cannot go and disturb them, right? You need to give them some breathing room.
Oh, by law, I can't disturb them.
Yes, you cannot. You need to give them some breathing room to let them get themselves back. So that is what
why Patricia no collect administration? Sorry. Please
go ahead. No, it's to stay. So Patricia is not in Patricia is in crypto space.
So okay, so you
options are limited. Options are limited.
Okay.
All right. So Sendy is now in administration, and according to Tech About, their administrator is Peter Kahi, right? So I think for me, the question that came to my mind immediately is, okay, you are now in administration. What are your chances of survival, right? So I'll give you some clues, right? So in Africa, we don't have figures when it comes to companies that have entered administration. But I saw data from other places, right? And the thing is, only 10%.
So once you enter, you don't come out?
No, you come out. If you end up surviving, right? The person will stay for some time, try to help you get on your feet.
But the data you just mentioned now is...
Yes.
Once
only
you enter,
10%
you know they come outside.
entered.
Even forest.
And ended up standing again. Only 10%.
Given that things are usually worse in Africa.
Exactly. And then when you look at Peter Kai, the administrator, he was also an administrator in a now defunct Nakumat supermarket. and another Kenyan company like that. So it's not even as if he has successfully saved.
So,
But I mean,
ladies, we should be bearing our goodbyes for Sendy.
I mean, going by the data, right? But then let's not
Let's not
be
conclude
pessimistic,
about
right?
their case.
Exactly.
What do you say that we are haters?
Yeah, let's not just conclude. But I mean, $22 million and
So I find it weird that logistics companies are struggling in this same market where DHL is this larger than life company that just does.
is that really a fair?
No. How did
comparison?
DHL become so big?
Someone said it's because they are not tech companies trying to do logistics.
They are logistics companies.
Word.
So that is, and I feel like a lot of startups that are playing in these industries that are not core tech, I think they should not waste their time trying to behave like startups. They should behave more like SMEs, which most of them are in the first place. It's just that they posture as startups so that they can raise money from investors, and that is fine. You can push all you want.
No, do you want to drop your address?
My address?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that they can find it.
Yes. Please come and meet
Please, you
me.
see it in
so
the
that thing-
description.
For the 3B, I mean, Crescent.
Please, before they come here, and the first person they see is volume.
Just look for the
Says
guy
to
that
run.
wears glasses.
No, my own is just be able to run faster than a few people, which I know I can run faster than a couple of people at Techpoint.
Do you want to name?
No, let's not go there.
let's not go there. But honestly, most of all these people that call themselves startups are SMEs, like, and I don't want to mention their names here because I've already dropped our address. But
So, and you are right.
You're probably on the
Yeah,
line. They will
very
not bother.
correct. So, I mean, after speaking to Uche Okonu, this smartjobs.ng guy, I realized that there are some businesses where it's not even good for you to raise money because there's a ton of learning you need to do before you can start growing and scaling. And most of these businesses are businesses that deal with where the human factor is large, right? Where you have gone beyond, where your code cannot work again, right? If you are in that side of business, it's not the basic textbook, do this, do marketing, because you are dealing with actual human beings, right? It's not like, I hire 2 developers. These are people that don't have, they are not exactly white collar. When you're dealing with blue collar people, right, you need a lot of learning. You need a lot of, it's like psychology, right? It's like you need to know how to deal with these people. So maybe these are the same problems Sendy is going through.
Yeah, just imagine small jobs of Sendy now that's making 100 million with just 9 employees. I'll be willing to bet there's another company that will say they want to do Uber for small jobs and start burning money and start complaining about how difficult the Nigerian market is. And okay, Chingo's in, please.
So I saw this conversation. I think maybe last week, or can't remember the exact time. But the argument was, you have people starting businesses in domains or in areas they have no domain expertise. So you're starting a fintech, but you've never worked in finance. You've never worked at a bank, at a mortgage institution, maybe with an insurer or any of that. You just have an idea that you think is brilliant, and then you're building an app immediately. And the person, or a lot of people actually went with the fact that you should get domain experience or domain expertise in that area. Of course, it may not be 10 years of experience, but at the very least understand how that industry operates.
Fintech guys, are you listening? Go and work for a fintech company first. Thank you. Or a bank.
What if I get an expert maybe on my founding team or something?
No, that is fine.
That's of course that should cover for what you lack in expertise. If you can get an expert to be an advisor. But the tricky thing is, advisors are typically not involved in the day-to-day of your business. So are they going to be the ones that tell you, oh, okay, this is like, they may tell you this happens, but they're not doing the day to day.
No,
And-
is it advisor you're talking about, or
No, I
bringing
like being
someone
on the
into
team
the
like a
company?
co-founder.
Okay,
Becoming a co-founder.
if you can get a co-founder,
Yeah.
that's perfect. If you can get a co-founder who has that experience, and maybe, okay, you have this idea, you bring it, and then the person is just telling you, okay, this is what you should expect when you go there. Because I remember when this chargeback fraud started, I think it was Favor that said that this is new to him, and someone was like, "You're doing a fintech in Nigeria and you don't know about chargeback. Are you playing?" And a lot of other, I've seen someone else make a comment about a fintech founder, and he said, this person obviously doesn't know what he's saying. And this is someone who has like over a decade of experience in the finance space. And he's saying that you who is running a company doesn't understand how a particular function works. So, of course, it's not everyone that would have the experience. But I think as much as you can, even if you're not getting them as a co-founder, maybe as an external consultant, I don't know, it may cost you some money, but basically someone that can help you in, even if it's in the early days, to just say, okay, this is what you should expect, and then you go ahead with it. Because maybe that's one of the problems too that founders have, not knowing enough about the market, and then having these grandiose ideas and executing just based on what you think should be. Like you have this utopia in your head about how the industry should be, but the market is saying a different thing. You're trying to force your own ideas on it. So I don't know, maybe probably someone who is more experienced than myself would have a different idea, but I think having that person,
that what he does make reference to now, forcing the ideas on people because they have ideas, is Jeff Bezos that caused all these things. Honestly, because someone like Jeff Bezos that will tell you, your customers does not know what they need.
Jeff Bezos, I mean Steve Jobs, I used to say that.
Steve Jobs, thank you. Steve Jobs that like they don't know what they need.
In Nigeria, we know what to need though. So
the thing is, it's fair to say that they don't know, because if you look at some innovations that have come out, there's not things that you were thinking about, right? As of the Paystack, I've never thought about anything like Paystack or Flutterwave.
Maybe someone else may have been thinking about it.
I'm talking of regular people that are using it now.
Oh, okay.
Not people in that industry that are seeing the pain points, right? So you that are inside media now, you might be seeing some pain points that you might be like, okay, this is something I would like to build or solve later in the future, right? Or but someone outside the media space might not see it and might not care if it even exists or not. But if it comes out and it's solving a problem that they didn't know they have, it makes sense. But the only way that works is when you have an obsession with the customer, which is what Steve Jobs and Bezos have, like crazy obsession with the customer. And I don't see it with most of these founders that are claiming that they are innovators and they are building what people don't need because they don't know that they need it. None of them are talking to the users. None of them are, when they are talking, they are not even asking questions that will force them to actually gain those insights from those users. So if you say you want to have an innovative idea, then you must be customer centric. And the few companies that have done that, OP, MoneyPoint, the telcos, those ones, they're cashing out big. If you come that look, so you just made mention of banking and banking experience. So Tosin, even with his expertise in the banking sector or in the fintech sector, he's brought in a core banking person to lead MoneyPoint MFB. And why he's sitting at the group level. So that person is a core banking. He was, I think, in InterSwitch or something. Yeah. He's brought in a core banking person to lead MoneyPoint MFB as a standalone company and other standalone companies that he is just sitting at the head, the holding company. So there are many, many models that can work for these kind of things, but I don't see it happening most of the times. I'm not seeing people obsessing over the customer, and I'm not seeing people obsessing over their talent.
I think this is probably where the investors can help, because when you're giving me money, there's a little power that you have over me. You can tell me something. Even if you're not giving me an instruction, you could just suggest, okay, how about we hire someone with this profile to lead this section of the business. But I don't know. Really, we are not seeing a lot of that. We still see people who start. We still see people who start companies. They don't have a lot of experience, and they still go hire other people who don't have as much as who don't have sometimes even less experience than they themselves. And then we just have that cycle.
You need to be the boss,
I mean, you can't be the boss, but it's also you.
So if you hire people with experience, they're almost likely to challenge.
Yes.
You, and you don't want to be challenged because you're the boss.
I mean, it's an ego thing. All of us have ego, so
yeah. So let's raise this matter. Sendy, please. I don't know logistics companies in particular. I keep looking at those big corporates that have grown to be what they are. There are so many lessons we need to learn from them. The markets that they refuse to enter, why didn't they enter it? So, but let's move on. So we've heard that MultiChoice has lost $1.7 billion in 6 months. So this is MultiChoice, DSTV, GoTV.
I'm not surprised.
1.7 billion.
Why are you not surprised?
In 6 months? That is crazy.
They losing the money.
Imagine what I will be looking at any startup that says they want to democratize the streaming space. I will just be looking at you with side eye. Like, what do you know that MultiChoice doesn't? But let's see. Let's see. Then, finally, Threads users will soon be able to delete their accounts without losing Instagram by December.
I want to say, who cares?
No, but people are not using Threads.
People are not using it. I can't remember the last time I went there.
Well,
I tried. Like, let me even, because Twitter.
So what they are doing now?
I will go on Twitter and.
What they are doing now, they are bringing feeds from Threads to Instagram. You will just be scrolling through Instagram. You will not be seeing feeds. Me, I will just scroll like this, and move on. So they are trying to bring it to where you are now. Well, I wish them the best, but Threads is just an Elon Musk mess up away from blowing up. Actually, in my opinion, once X just messes up, but as long as they are not messing up.
Disagree.
Yeah,
you still have many mess up before people move. The thing is okay.
Let's leave that. Let's
not dwell on it.
Okay, so now Amazon is investing $4 billion in AI. God will help all of us. So,
how much the African startups raised last year?
Like 5 billion.
That's not good.
Yeah. 5 billion. So guys, don't forget. Look at Amazon investing $4 billion in AI. So AI is going to be a big deal, and that's going to be a very, very, very important subject in the future of work as it relates to whether you will have a job or not in the next 5 years, whether you even have a retirement plan at all. So many things are going on at the Modern Workplace Africa Conference, and you should not miss it. And if you are playing in the talent management or people management space or recruitment space, and you just want to have an evening of relaxation and chilling, just come to the HR Mixer that is going on Friday, 29th of September 2023. That is tomorrow, based on the time we're recording this. So yeah, I think am I forgetting anything? Don't forget to do the needful, subscribe, just like, subscribe, and share with your friends, well-wishers, and everybody. So for our video lovers, you know what to do: Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Audio lovers, Bolu knows what to do.
Yes, for audio lovers, you can always find us on, I want to say, Google Podcast, but very soon you might not be able to find us on Google Podcast anymore because
what happened?
Scrapping Google Podcast.
Why?
So all your podcasts will now be on YouTube Music by the end of starting next year, right? Yeah. So, but you can always till then you can find us on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and anywhere else you get your podcast. Should I no wait. Say art. There's H there. There's an actual H.
Oh,
my God, you're telling me I have H factor. When there's H in the actual word. My God. Guys, please put in the comment section. Is there really something wrong with my pronunciation of
You're never beating these allegations, don't bother.
Yes, you go explain it.
No, it's fine.
All right, people, bye-bye, and see you in the next one.
But there's H there.